Everybody, this sales thing is a code that you can crack, right? We've talked about high level sales. We've talked about the beginner stuff, the intermediate stuff, the advanced stuff. And I want to lay the ground for this video specifically in a certain way. What I mean by that is this. Number one, you can take sales and communication to a level that you've never imagined. But this is what I first want to establish with the audience and everybody watching this video right now. This is coming from a guy, right? And if you didn't know, I had 200,000 subscribers. I still have hundreds of people on my coaching program right now, my sales and communication coaching program for real estate agents and other people. I've sold, I don't know how many thousands, probably tens of thousands of courses online on, social media, marketing, sales, and that kind of stuff. And this is coming from a guy, right? I don't say that to brag at all. This has been over 12 years. But I'm saying that as the guy that everybody, when I told them I was going to get into sales and real estate, were like scratching their heads and laughing at me. You don't have any connections. You're not a talker, right? You're more reserved and this and that. So from a communication standpoint, people already viewed me as a non-salesperson. And many of you who watch me are starting there, and you think in your mind, and this is the first mistake, you're born with it. You need to have it. Keep in mind, I was never considered a talker, gift of the gab by anybody's estimation. To this day, I have people telling me they're so surprised that I'm this public speaker and all this other stuff. And the number one block for people in sales right now, looking into it or whatever it is they believe that. Now, the thing is I never looked at that as something that was going to hold me back. And many of you do. And that's a problem. Before we even get into any teaching, if you do not change that in your mind, you will never improve in communication because you're thinking in finite terms. Meaning, I was born this way, it's in my DNA, it can't change. That is a load of S-H-I-T. Anybody, I don't care who you are, where you're from, your gender, your race, your ethnicity, your religion, whatever it is. Tall, short, skinny, fat, I don't care. You can master communication if you become a student of the art. It is an art form and a science combined, which is why it's so beautiful. And I will dedicate my life to it until they lay me to rest. And I will never stop talking about it. But we need to get that through your head. How many of us associate certain traits because of our race, gender, ethnicity, religion, whatever it is? Oh, I have an attitude because of this. Or, oh, I'm outspoken because no, that has nothing to do with your race. It's BS. Even if you don't believe me, I want you to try this hat on for a week or two and say, you know what? I'm going to drop this stuff in association with whatever it is. And I'm just going to do what this dude said for a week or two. I'm just going to experiment. Just think of it as an experiment. Okay. And I want to lay that foundation. So stepping forward into this video and your studies and your dedication to communication, you can really start to see some changes. Okay. So let's start with this. Number one, when I am going to cold call, door knock, talk to somebody, right? A sales scenario where we're going to communicate. Okay. One of the number one things, and this is higher level stuff, but we have to remove this thought process. And this is difficult, right? This is more advanced, but check with yourself as I describe it. We innately judge as human beings. It's normal, right? It's a part of our survival mechanism. Somebody sees me late at night, walking down the street, I'm coming at them and it's dark and we're in an alley. I'm 6'2", I'm tattooed. They're probably going to be afraid or create distance between us because I'm a perceived threat. That's your judgment mechanism. Now, a lot of people will say, well, they're being racist or this and that. Well, not necessarily, right? Because when you look at those circumstances, it would be smart because of my size and how I look for them to at least consider me a threat. That's a judgment mechanism in a nutshell, right? A million other examples I can give you, but that's a simple one. Now, with that said, to be the highest level salesperson, when you interact with people, you have to learn to shut that off. Because when you judge like that, even before you open your mouth, you're expecting a particular response from somebody because you'll try to size them up. Oh, this is an older lady. She's going to be this way. This is a younger kid. This is an older man. Oh, this is a suburban dude. Oh, this is a, urban dude, right? Like you need to remove that. And I get it, it's tough because of course we should judge as human beings and we naturally do. The world's gonna judge you, just so you know. Like I get judged for my tattoos, my earrings, how I dress, how I talk, how I walk. That's fine. I already knew what I signed up for when I, entered the real world. You're gonna be judged no matter what. I'm judged for my height, my voice, everything, how I carry myself, and you will be too. However, highest level sales, when I interact with somebody and I start a communication, I have to effectively shut that off, and that's difficult. So for those of you who follow me, like who are in sales or real estate, right? Where you're calling an aggressive lead, like an expired listing or a FSBO, you have to take it out of your head that they're gonna be mad or gonna be aggressive. Because what's tied with that is the highest level communicator responds to what's given. No judgment, I'm gonna respond accordingly and effectively to what's given to me. So I have a blank slate. If I'm given aggression, I'm gonna respond properly to aggression. If I'm given a normal interaction, I'm gonna respond to a normal interaction. My tactics and strategy will be based on what's given to me. I'm prepared to respond. I am attentive, I'm focused, and I'm 100% engaged in the prospect. That's high level sales. Sure, you're gonna have your script and all that stuff, of course. But that's where it starts. If you can adopt that, and that's the homework for you, because many people will listen to this and say, got it. But you'll realize in practice, it's very challenging unless you're at a higher level, because we innately judge as human beings. So you're literally going against your nature. But communication is in context, and communication has its own set of rules, again, at the highest levels, even at the beginning levels. Because again, there's what people say versus what they respond to. We know that communication is mostly physiological, body language, and tonality. Sometimes words don't really match up with what people really mean or what they want to say. We know that. So communication is a lot more nuanced than people give it credit for, right? But that's number one. I want to remove the judgment and then respond accordingly to what's given to me. Okay? Number two, I want you to focus on what's called micro calibrations. Micro calibrations are little subtle shifts that you make in what you do. From your tone to maybe switching a couple words. Like as an example, particular words that you can use are called like softeners. If I know I'm gonna make a request of somebody that could be perceived as too direct, or maybe push a little bit too hard, like I'm going straight for the jugular, going straight for the appointment. Hey, let's get together, let's meet. So instead of saying, hey, let's get together, I can use softeners like, hey, would you potentially be available for a tentative meeting next week? Tentative is a softener, potentially softener. Would you potentially consider getting together with me next week? Right? Is there a possibility that we could have a brief meeting next week, sometime between Wednesday and Friday? I'm using the softener to make it easier to get a yes or a consideration. Then we can set the appointment. But the softener is a micro calibration to your statements and movements that allow you that wiggle room to get in, where maybe being too direct in that moment would have shut the door, right? Because the critical factor in somebody's mind would go off. The critical factor, we learned this in hypnosis, the critical factor in somebody's mind, if it goes off, meaning it detects something, a pattern, you're doing something to them, you're trying to sell them, you're pushing them, the critical factor goes off in the subconscious mind, they are blocked off from persuasion and influence, and they will put up a wall, right? Now that threshold depends on the individual and the situation, but eventually it will occur in a sales situation, in a communication between one human being and another, or however that manifests for that particular example. But it will go off. So the microcalibration in this example is the softeners, which you can use, right? So when I look at my little black book of communication that I created exclusively for my community, which by the way, if you want some samples of it, leave a comment and I'll send you a link, and you can take a quick quiz that will detect the type of salesperson that you are, your archetype, and then it's going to give you a set of questions from that book. I think that book right now has like 150 questions, and it'll send you like 10 or 15 that you can use based on your style to help you sell better, right? Based on some of these concepts. Totally for free. And I have other free resources there too if you need them. So that's one example of a micro calibration, right? Again, higher level sales, because as sales gets more advanced, it becomes a lot more nuanced. Even that concept that I brought up, which we can use in example number 3 here as we give points, communication is always in context. What I mean by that is, sure, we're going to use the script and all our strategies, right? However, there's going to be little adjustments that you make because in this context, this person, their personality type, their what representational system they use, their IRS, internal representational system, right? Audio, visual, kinesthetic, which is typically how you see it be given to the public. It's how they process the world, right? We're gonna, again, based on that context, right? And let me give you some examples of that. As somebody's visual, you'll use statements like, hey, do you see what I'm saying? Does that look good? Right? If somebody's audio, you would say, does that sound good? Do you hear me? Do you like what you're hearing? Does this sound like something that you would be interested in, right? And kinesthetic is, hey, can you get a grasp on the concept? How does this feel to you currently? You wanna play around with the idea a little bit, right? I'm assuming kinesthetic touch. That's what kinesthetic is. So you would make those adjustments in that context where I would switch around words in my script to fit their representational system and how they perceive and interact with the world. This is where you hear the phrase that's coined, somebody speaking their language, or hey, you're speaking my language. That's literally what you're doing. I'm looking at how they subconsciously process the world. And how do you identify this? By listening to them. They'll tell you, oh, I see what you mean. Oh, okay, yeah, I hear you. Hear, see, right? They're telling you which system that they primarily operate in. So I will mirror that back to them. So when you hear mirroring and matching, that's what that is. But on a higher level, right? We start looking at the context and making these little adjustments. So the more that you have in your repertoire as a salesperson, the more that you can add this into your base scripts and strategies, right? If you need scripts, right? I also offer those. They should be in the description as well for free. So as we start painting this picture of what higher level sales and communication is, it starts to become very beautiful because now the interaction feels, and this is point number 4, what I'm doing feels, this is the key, feels like a curated experience for that individual, meaning they feel, again, emotionally and internally, that this presentation is not canned. I'm not using a script. I'm specifically catering to who they are, their wants and their needs, and this feels like a genuine interaction to them. Bingo. That's what you want. Now I'm selling, but this is the key. It doesn't feel to them like I'm selling them. Isn't that cool? Now, this is the system that I primarily teach people. Selling, so it's smooth, silky smooth, and they don't feel like they're being sold. Therefore, you'll build more rapport. They'll be a lot more open with you. They'll answer all your questions. They'll be happy. They'll refer you customers. And all in all, it's a smooth process. And it's question-based. There's no crazy pressure, right? You can turn things up or down like a dial. You can go straight for the kill. You can be real nuanced and take 20 steps to get there. You'll have that versatility in your skill set. But that's higher level sales because we're looking at this thing like a surgeon and we're being precise and we're making these little adjustments, but it requires a lot of work because my developmental process through sales and communication and what I teach and what I do has taken years, right? I've been in the game now for August 24th, 2025 as I'm filming this, 12 and a half years. Well, 12 years, we'll call it 12 years, roughly, right? It's a long time. And I've been a student of the game and I keep wanting to get better and better and better and better. But you have to really take it piece by piece with some of these things that I'm discussing today and choose what you're going to work on and how you're going to improve it. What's up, buddy? Pick these things. Now, everyone will say, well, I kind of know that, like mirroring and matching and all that. Sure, right? But take it to a crazy level. A crazy level where just unconsciously you go around and you just naturally mirror and match people at the highest level. So if somebody's observing you that knows sales, they'd be like, okay, this guy, he's really good. I'm not talking about being average or above average or pretty good. I'm talking about world-class sales and communication ability because that's what I focus on. I don't want people to be okay or pretty good. I want you to be phenomenal. I want people to look at you and be like, what are you doing? And that's why it's cool to see a lot of the students come into my stuff and just immediately start selling a lot more and start to really indulge in these details and make these changes. But you got to really obsess about this stuff. So again, if you really want to be higher level sales and communication, I really want you to understand that it's extremely detailed and nuanced. And we have to start going into each technique that you're learning and break it down and see the nuance in it and master that. Take it piece by piece. If you're just now hearing representational systems and softeners and some of these things that I'm talking about, choose one at a time and master it. If you're going to choose the softeners, learn about them more, and then say, hey, I'm going to implement them. I'm going to put them in my scripts. I'm going to use them every day in my dialogues until you, again, can go very direct, indirect, and everything in between in your way of communicating. So you know these things just inside and out, and you've mastered it. Then go on to the next technique. That's what I would do when I started. I would take a week or 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it took for me to master something, focusing on body language and this and that, and then reading more and studying more. So when I focused, I would use the technique, learn about it, and then the coaching programs and books that I was reading, I would focus everything around that one technique or one thing for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Then I move on to the next one. So if that 1 or 2 lectures that I was listening to or 1 or 2 books were about that, that's what I would focus on. And I would reread and restudy over and over until I had that thing down. Then I went to the next one. Because the problem in our modern era is, I'm just going to consume all the content and watch this. That doesn't get you anywhere. You need to specialize if you want to be a high-level salesperson. Specialization. You want to focus on that thing and master it. Because right now, that's what people will pay for. That's what's going to move you forward in sales and communication and all this stuff, is being a master at your craft, not a jack of all trades. Jack of all trades is a master of none. And as time goes on and the competition gets more fierce and online stuff is out and AI, you really got to be specialized. I know AI bots will never outsell me. Like, I'm not worried about that. The AI bots we use and I implemented in my businesses, but they're not going to outsell me, because that same script, this is the key that you need to get for those of you who are still on this video. Everybody's using Chat GPT and AI, so they're being spit out the same stuff. Whether it's for scripts for videos or scripts for presentations with their clients. And again, you're just going to be one of a million people using the same damn thing. Sure, they're going to get better and more evolved, but I'm way ahead of the game with this stuff. And you guys know, when you watch an AI video, listen to an AI script or the ChatGPT bot, it still sounds scripted. It's missing that human element. And that's where the highest level of communication and skill will carry you, because you're not going to sound scripted or make them feel like you're a robot. And that's one of the biggest gems that you can get in regards to understanding your leverage against technology and all these things. But that's only for the people who are masters. The people who are decent at sales or average, they're just going to get chewed up and spit out, because that Chat GPT or AI will beat them. Why? Because they're average or above average. They're not excellent. They're not phenomenal. They're not top tier. And that's really what you need. Anything else you guys need, let me know. Appreciate you tuning in. This is the high level sales kind of module and series that I've been doing. So I'm super excited. Again, please leave a comment to help with the algorithm. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video. All right, peace.